Welcome back, my great history lovers, and thank you so much for being here today. I'm truly happy to have you with me, because the story we're about to explore has the power to completely change the way you look at a simple 10-cent coin. A dime is something most of us barely notice. It passes through our hands, falls into pockets, and disappears into everyday spending without a second thought. Yet today, we are diving deep into the story of the Liberty One dime from 1974, a United States coin that carries a face value of just 10 cents, but has been surrounded by astonishing theories, rare possibilities, and extreme scenarios that connect it to values reaching as high as $85,000 million when extraordinary errors, mistakes, mint mark anomalies, and unique conditions are considered. This is not just about money. It is about history, chance, imperfection, and how something ordinary can become legendary. The 1974 Liberty One dime was produced during a time of stability and transition in American coinage. The Roosevelt dime, which carries the torch of liberty through its symbolism and design, had already become a familiar presence in American life. Millions of dimes were struck each year to keep up with commerce, and 1974 was no exception. These coins were made to be used, not admired. They were struck quickly, efficiently, and in massive quantities at multiple mints, including Philadelphia and Denver. The idea that one of these coins could ever be worth more than cities, companies, or even nations seems unbelievable, and yet this is exactly what makes the story so captivating. To understand how such extreme value differences are even imagined, we must first understand what truly gives a coin value beyond its face amount. Face value is fixed by law, but collector value is fluid, shaped by rarity, demand, historical importance, condition, and most importantly, uniqueness. Errors and mistakes are the foundation of extraordinary value in modern coin collecting. When a coin exists in a form it was never meant to take, it becomes a physical record of a moment when the minting process failed, even briefly. Those failures are what collectors chase, study, and dream about. The minting process is highly controlled, but it is still a mechanical system operated by humans. It begins with metal being rolled into thin sheets, then punched into round blanks called planchets. These planchets are cleaned, inspected, and fed into high-speed presses. Engraved steel dies strike the planchets with immense force, transferring the design, date, inscriptions, and mint mark. Every step must align perfectly. When something goes wrong, an error is born. One of the most discussed categories of errors associated with a 1974 Liberty One dime is striking errors. An off-center strike occurs when the planchet is not properly seated between the dies at the moment of impact. The result is a coin where part of the design is missing and part of the blank metal is exposed. Minor off-center strikes exist, but dramatic ones are rare. A heavily off-center 1974 dime that still clearly shows the date and mint mark would instantly stand out as a major error. Double strikes create another level of fascination. These occur when a coin is struck more than once, often after shifting position between strikes. The second strike may overlap the first, distort the image, or create doubled features. On a dime, this can result in duplicated lettering, overlapping portraits, or warped rims. A bold, well-defined double-struck 1974 dime would be a remarkable survivor of mint malfunction. Multiple strikes push this even further. In rare cases, a coin may be struck 3 or more times before being ejected from the press. Each strike adds complexity and chaos to the design, creating a coin that looks almost sculptural. These pieces are highly prized because they represent repeated failures in a system designed for precision. Die-related errors are another powerful driver of extreme value. Dies endure enormous pressure and eventually wear out. Die cracks appear as raised lines on the coin, sometimes running across the portrait or lettering. As cracks grow, they can develop into die breaks, where chunks of the die break away. This creates raised areas called cuds, where part of the design is missing. A large cud on a 1974 dime that removes a significant portion of the design would be considered a major error. Die clashes are especially fascinating. They occur when the obverse and reverse dies strike each other without a planchet in between. This can cause elements of each design to be transferred to the opposite die. Coins struck afterward may show faint impressions of the reverse on the obverse or vice versa. On a dime, this could result in ghostly outlines appearing behind the portrait. These errors are valued because they reveal a hidden moment inside the minting process. Mint mark errors are central to the legend of extraordinary 1974D. If you love coins, hidden stories, and the idea that something small in your pocket could hold an unbelievable secret, then you are in exactly the right place. Now, we are diving into one of the most talked about and mysterious modern American coins, the Liberty One dime dated 1993 with the D mint mark. At first glance it looks ordinary, almost boring, just another Roosevelt dime that millions of people have used without a second thought. But behind this tiny 10-cent piece lies a world of minting errors, rare possibilities, collector legends, and stories that have driven some people to claim values reaching into the tens of millions of dollars, far beyond its humble face value. This is not just about money, it is about history, chance, and how mistakes can sometimes become treasures. The 1993 D Liberty One dime was produced at the Denver Mint during a period when the United States Mint was striking enormous quantities of coins for everyday commerce. Dimes in particular were essential for vending machines, parking meters, and daily transactions, so speed and volume were priorities. When speed increases, the chance of mistakes also increases, and it is within these mistakes that collectors find fascination. Most 1993 D dimes are common, worth only their face value or a small premium in uncirculated condition. But the conversation changes completely when we start talking about error coins, transitional anomalies, and rare mint mark irregularities. To understand why some people believe a 1993 D dime could be worth an extraordinary amount, we have to understand how coins are made. A dime begins as a blank metal disc, called a planchet, composed of a copper core bonded with outer layers of nickel. These planchets are fed into high-speed presses, where dies strike them with tremendous force, imprinting the design on both sides. The dies themselves are engraved with incredible detail, and they include the date, the mint mark, and every line of Roosevelt's portrait and the torch on the reverse. Any problem at any stage, from planchet preparation to die creation to the striking process, can create a coin that is different from all others. One of the most discussed error possibilities for the 1993 D dime involves wrong planchets. If a dime were accidentally struck on a planchet intended for another denomination or even another coin series, the result would be dramatic. Imagine a dime design struck on a penny planchet, or on a foreign coin blank. The weight, thickness, and color would be wrong, immediately catching the attention of experts. Verified wrong planchet errors have sold for large sums in the past, and while most sell for thousands or tens of thousands rather than millions, speculation grows when such an error is combined with exceptional preservation and a dramatic story of discovery. Another category that fuels high-value claims is off-metal strikes involving silver. By 1993, circulating dimes were no longer made of silver, but the mint still handled silver planchets for proof and commemorative coins. If, through an extremely rare chain of events, a silver planchet found its way into a Denver dime press, the resulting coin would defy expectations. A 1993 D dime struck on silver would have a different sound, weight, and appearance, and it would instantly become one of the most talked about modern mint errors ever discovered. Even the mere possibility of such an event keeps collectors searching. Mint mark errors are another major driver of excitement. The D mint mark indicates Denver, but what if that mint mark were altered, doubled, misplaced, or even missing in a way that cannot be explained by wear or damage? Doubled mint marks caused by die issues can create the illusion of two overlapping DS. In extreme cases, collectors report mint marks that appear rotated, stretched, or partially punched, suggesting unusual die preparation or repair. While many supposed mint mark errors turn out to be damage or die deterioration, the rare genuine examples can command serious premiums. Then there are double die errors, among the most famous and valuable in all of numismatics. A double die occurs when the die itself receives a misaligned impression during its creation, causing design elements to appear doubled on every coin struck from that die. On a dime, this doubling might appear in the date, the word liberty, or the motto "In God We Trust." Strong, clear doubling that can be verified under magnification is highly sought after. If a dramatic double die were found on a 1993 D dime, especially one previously unknown to the collecting community, it could instantly become legendary. Clipped planchets are another fascinating error type. These occur when the metal strip used to punch out planchets overlaps or shifts, resulting in a blank with a missing curved or straight section. When struck, the missing metal creates a distinctive shape that cannot be faked easily. While many clipped planchet dimes exist, the M. Dears now in the third history, we are exploring the Liberty One dime dated 1998 with the P mint mark, a United States coin that most people would pass over without a second glance. Yet according to collectors' legends, rare discoveries, and the fascinating world of mint errors, this tiny 10-cent piece has been surrounded by stories of values reaching as high as $71 million, a number so shocking that it forces us to rethink what we believe about money, mistakes, and history. This journey is not just about a coin's price, but about how chance, craftsmanship, and human error can transform an everyday object into something extraordinary. The 1998 P Liberty One dime was struck at the Philadelphia Mint during a time when the United States Mint was producing coins at an enormous scale. Millions upon millions of dimes flowed through the presses, destined for wallets, cash registers, parking meters, and vending machines across the nation. These coins were not intended to be special. They were designed to function, to move quickly through commerce, and to be replaced as they wore down. Yet it is precisely this environment of speed and mass production that creates the perfect conditions for mistakes, and mistakes are where rarity is born. To truly understand why a 1998 P dime could ever be spoken of in the same breath as multimillion-dollar values, we must first understand the coin itself. The obverse features the familiar portrait of Franklin D. Roosevelt, a design that has graced the dime since 1946. The word Liberty arcs along the left side, while In God We Trust rests to the right, and the date 1998 sits below. On Philadelphia issues of this era, there is no mint mark, which is itself a point of fascination, because the absence of a mark can sometimes hide subtle anomalies that collectors search for obsessively. The reverse shows the torch flanked by olive and oak branches, symbolizing liberty, peace, and strength. On the surface, everything seems normal, balanced, and familiar. But the magic begins when we look closer, far closer than most people ever do. Coins are born through a complex, multi-step process that involves planchet creation, die preparation, alignment, pressure, and timing. At every stage, something can go wrong. A planchet can be the wrong metal, the dies can be misaligned, the strike can be incomplete, or the equipment can malfunction in ways that produce unique results. Most errors are caught and destroyed by quality control, but some escape into circulation, and those survivors become the objects of intense desire. One of the most intriguing possibilities for the 1998 P dime involves wrong planchet errors. A dime is supposed to be struck on a copper nickel-clad planchet with a specific weight and thickness. If, however, a planchet intended for another denomination or even a foreign coin were accidentally fed into the dime press, the result would be instantly unusual. A dime struck on a cent planchet would be lighter and smaller, with portions of the design missing or distorted. A dime struck on a nickel planchet would be heavier and thicker. These kinds of errors are rare, and when authenticated, they can command astonishing prices. The idea that a previously unknown wrong planchet error from 1998 could surface fuels speculation and excitement. Even more dramatic is the concept of an off-metal strike involving silver. By 1998, circulating dimes were no longer made of silver, yet the mint still handled silver planchets for commemoratives and proof coins. If a silver planchet somehow found its way into a batch intended for circulation dimes, the resulting coin would stand out immediately. Its weight, sound, and appearance would be unmistakable. A 1998 P dime struck on silver would represent a spectacular failure of separation within the mint, and its rarity could push it into legendary status. Another category that captures the imagination of collectors is double die errors. These occur not during the striking of the coin, but during the creation of the dies themselves. If the die receives more than one misaligned impression from the hub, the design elements can appear doubled on every coin struck from that die. On a 1998 P dime, this doubling might appear in the date, in the word Liberty, or in the motto In God We Trust. Strong, clear doubling that is not caused by machine vibration or damage is extremely valuable, especially if it represents a new discovery not previously catalogued. Mint mark errors, or in this case errors related to the absence of a mint mark, also play a role. Philadelphia dimes of this era typically have no mint mark, which means collectors must be especially attentive to subtle clues. A filled die, for example, could cause parts of the design to appear weak or missing. A die chip or break could create raised blobs or lines that change the appearance of the coin. In rare cases, die repairs or modifications can leave behind strange shapes that defy. Whether you are a long-time coin collector, a curious beginner, or someone who simply enjoys discovering hidden stories behind everyday objects, you are in the right place. Today's next journey is one that starts with something almost everyone has held in their hand without a second thought, a small silver-colored coin worth just 10 cents, and ends in a world of mystery, speculation, rare errors, and astonishing possibilities that challenge everything we think we know about money and value. In this video, we are diving deep into the Liberty 1 dime dated 2005 with the P Mint mark, a modern American coin that appears ordinary at first glance, yet has become the subject of legends, debates, and extraordinary claims of value reaching into the tens of billions of dollars when the rarest combinations of errors and mint anomalies are imagined together. At face value, a dime is one of the smallest units of American currency, a coin that slips easily into pockets, purses, and couch cushions. In 2005, millions upon millions of dimes were struck at the Philadelphia Mint, each one intended to circulate freely through the economy, passing from hand to hand with little notice. These coins were produced efficiently, rapidly, and in enormous quantities, designed to be uniform, durable, and reliable. Yet history has shown again and again that even in the most carefully controlled minting environments, perfection is never absolute. Tiny deviations, microscopic mistakes, and rare human or mechanical errors can transform a simple coin into something extraordinary. The 2005 P dime belongs to the Roosevelt dime series, which has been in production since 1946. While the design honors President Franklin D. Roosevelt rather than liberty in the classical sense, many collectors still associate the concept of liberty with American coinage as a whole, especially when discussing the ideals represented by U.S. currency. Liberty, freedom, and democracy are embedded into the identity of these coins, even when not explicitly named. This connection adds emotional and symbolic weight to the discussion, especially when a coin is believed to carry a story far beyond its modest denomination. In 2005, the United States Mint was operating at a high level of efficiency. Computerized systems, precision presses, and rigorous quality control processes were in place to ensure consistency. The Philadelphia Mint, identified by the P Mint mark, produced hundreds of millions of dimes that year. On paper, this would suggest that no single coin from that production run should stand out in any meaningful way. But collectors know that rarity is not always about how many coins were made. It is about how many were made differently. Errors are the lifeblood of extraordinary coin values. They are the unexpected fingerprints left behind by a complex industrial process that involves metal preparation, blank cutting, annealing, upsetting, die creation, die installation, and striking. At every stage, something can go slightly wrong. Most mistakes are caught and destroyed before coins ever leave the mint. A very small number, however, escape into circulation, unnoticed at first, carrying with them the potential to become legendary. When people talk about the astonishing theoretical valuation of a 2005 P dime reaching figures like $60 trillion in extreme speculative discussions, they are not talking about a normal coin. They are talking about a hypothetical convergence of the rarest known mint errors, combined into a single surviving specimen. This kind of valuation is not about everyday market reality but about exploring the outer limits of what collectors might imagine, dream about, and search for. One of the most talked about error possibilities involves off-metal strikes. A dime is supposed to be struck on a clad planchet composed of copper and nickel. But imagine a 2005 P dime struck on a planchet intended for a completely different denomination, or even a foreign coin, or a test alloy never meant for circulation. If such a coin existed and could be authenticated, it would already be extremely valuable. Now imagine that same coin also displaying additional errors layered on top of the wrong metal composition. Double strikes are another source of fascination. A coin that has been struck more than once, especially if the strikes are misaligned, can show ghostly overlapping images of the design. These errors reveal the chaotic moments when a planchet failed to eject properly and was struck again by the dies. Most double strikes are subtle or unattractive, but some create dramatic visual effects that capture the imagination of collectors. A 2005 P dime with a bold, clearly visible double strike, especially one rotated or offset, would immediately stand out from normal examples. Then there are die errors themselves. Dies are the engraved tools that impart the design onto coins, and they wear out over time. Cracks, chips, and breaks can form in the